out here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo continues here on VSIN. We're going to take things now to the Progressive Guest Line and welcome in your favorite DFS expert. I know he's my favorite too. Tony Cutillo back to the program. Tony, how you doing this week, man? You gave out some sharp plays last week.
Man, I'll tell you what, man. The bets didn't hit that great. We only got one, but the DFS plays, man, they were on point. So looking to kind of recap for week 12.
Yeah, gave us Justin Herbert at a great price against Cincinnati Sunday night. Look, all the complaints on the Chargers end after that game had to do with their defense, not Justin Herbert. David Montgomery got in the end zone at ease. Will Dissly also showed out in that Sunday night game, man. I'm excited for these picks. Where are you going at the quarterback position this week? You've been a bit of a repeat offender at times, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, because you're getting guys that are, priced well. And Herbert and Nix have had pretty low value, pretty low prices coming into where we are at this point in the season, going into week 12. But you're switching it up this week. What direction are you taking us in?
Yeah, man. Listen, the Miami Dolphins have won 2 in a row and are actually looking a little better than we have suspected over the last few weeks. And I think Tua is underpriced. I always look for these underpriced guys, and Tua is 5,800. I know he's going up against New England, but those battles, no matter how good or bad those teams are, they always tend to score a lot of points. And here's an amazing stat. Like I like to look at these completion rates. Since his return from the concussion, he has a 76% completion rate, and he's only thrown 1 interception. So he's been a steady 225, 230 or more, but also has at any given time a 300 or more ceiling. So I really like Tua this week because you look at the value at DFS anywhere between 52 and 6,000, and he is definitely the cream of the crop at that number.
I love it. Hey, I also love this play. You're taking a guy with a week and a half off against one of the worst run defenses in the National Football League this year. A guy who does it so much more than just beat you up on the ground, and he's physical. He could beat you up, but he gets involved in the passing game. What do you like in Jerry's world, man?
In Jerry's world, right?
It's everyone else's world, by the way. They've lost 6 straight in that stadium.
Yeah, and they just have pieces of metal.
The roof is literally caving in for the Cowboys, literally and figuratively down there, man.
Can't make it up, man. And as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I just love every minute of it. But listen, I'm going to go to the Commanders, and I'm going to go to a guy who, listen, we all thought was basically washed, right? In Austin Eckler. We were like, this guy definitely doesn't have anything left. And what he's starting to show is that they're really utilizing his skill set out of the backfield. Not only can he pound it through the tackles, but he's got 12 catches, 130 plus yards, and 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks. And, you're looking at, a quarterback who went into a matchup against my Eagles. But listen, I love Jaden Daniels. And I don't think he goes down a notch at all. He just went up against a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator that gave him looks that he probably never seen before. Well, what better way to get on track than to go against the Dallas Cowboys and get some catches to the running back to get that rookie back on the on the path of success.
I love it. I also like this other running back a lot. We've talked about him from time to time. Waiver wire plays, especially earlier in the year. He's taking on my Giants, man. It's embarrassing to be a Giant fan right now, Tony. It is. Tommy DeVito, if this kid gets one more minute of publicity, and his agent, I can't stand him. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. They make me hate being Italian. I love being Italian. Tommy Cutlets makes me hate cutlets. I am so disgusted with this organization and the sideshow that they've become out there. Who are you targeting to beat up on my Giants in DFS this week?
Yeah, man, it is a crap show out there in New York land. But listen, this is a guy we talked about in the beginning of the year in Bucky Irving, 5,300 as a running back 1, in my opinion. Now, I know Rachaad White still getting the starts and gets the catches and seems to get the touchdowns, but the Giants give up close to the most touchdowns to running backs in the entire NFL. And this dude still got the quickest burst through the line on that team, and he's very hard to tackle. And it gets a New York Giants team also that is the worst tackling team in football after the front line. So after a bad week, he was back up to 5.6 6 yards per carry. So I feel like that number is even going to be elevated this week. And at 5,300, man, you're getting a running back again that has every opportunity to get in the end zone at least once, possibly twice, because this game could get out of hand.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that call. I personally, this line moved, and some people could say, "Oh, you missed out on the good number. It opened at 3. The DeVito news came out. It's 5.5." I would still lay that 5.5 with Tampa Bay. I think it's going to be a slaughter. And the Buccaneers, a lot of people were ready to write them off, but the Falcons just keep giving them new life. They're not out of it, despite the fact that, man, I just wish Todd Bowles played a little more aggressively against Kansas City and San Fran. If he could have walked away with a split in those 2 games, I'd say Tampa's sitting pretty right now. But, he just, I thought, played it too conservative at the end of each of those. Let's talk, let's actually keep talking this game. There's a wideout you like in this one. He's not too expensive, but a lot of great value on your wide receiver plays this week. He's the more expensive of the 3. Where are you starting here?
Yeah, I mean, listen, everybody's going to look at Malik Neighbors, right? And everybody's like, this is the guy. I'm looking at Wan'Dale Robinson. And, again, he's only 5,200, and he's going up against a Tampa Bay team that gives 7th most points given up against wide receivers. And at one point, this is a guy who had the most targets in the NFL as a wide receiver after like week 6. I mean, he was right there. Here's the thing about Tommy DeVito. This guy's going to look for short routes. He's going to look for little quick slants, little across the middle. That's going to be Wan'Dale Robinson. And he could very well be the wide receiver number 1 for the rest of the year just because he's going to get peppered with so many in-between targets. So I like Wan'Dale Robinson a lot at 5,200.
God, this team is a joke. I can't even talk about them anymore. Another repeat offender, going back to that Commander-Cowboys game. I mean, look, this one has great value, and this is a guy who could get you decent productivity, decent performance on one target if it goes well. He's a blazer. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, man, Devontae Turpin. I mean, look, you watched the speed the other night, and one thing about Cooper Rush is he's going to need these big plays, right? He's not going to go that deep down the field. We watched that, right? So this is going to be the kind of receiver that he's really going to utilize. And they're going to, speaking of utilizing, they're going to use him in a Deebo Samuel type of role. I really saw that to get him more touches. And here's the thing about Dallas, man. They are cooked. So garbage points are going to be at a premium. And when you talk about garbage points, you have to go down in the chain. So CeeDee Lamb probably be off the field. Even Jalen Tolbert might be off the field. But guess what? Turpin is going to be on the field no matter what. So he's still going to get you fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, this kid just has absolutely blazing speed. Only had 3 targets Monday night against Houston, but had 3 catches for over 80 yards and a score. It's almost like he elevates the run game, which we know is non-existent for Dallas, one of the worst rushing offenses in the league. But he elevates the run game almost from the passing game. Screens, quick releases, just give him the ball at the line of scrimmage in open space, and he could do the rest himself. Who's your final play here while we're talking about value? Under $4,000 on this one.
Yeah, listen, this is another guy who's really shooting up the radar, and this is my man Devon Vele, 3,900. Again, here's the thing about Vele, man. He's developing as a really good wide receiver number 2 for Bo Nix. 105-1 in his last 2 weeks. Second on the team in targets for 2 weeks in a row, and he's benefiting from the master play caller in Sean Payton. Here's a guy who's 6'5", 210, rookie out of Utah, who's really playing a great complementary role to wide receiver 1 Courtland Sutton. So there's some big dogs out there that Bo Nix is throwing to. And for 3,900 against Vegas, I really like this play as well.
Yeah, this Raiders team, I'm hearing a lot of people say, oh, it's an ugly home dog. I like this spot. Look, are the Broncos going to play perfect the way they did against Atlanta? Probably not. But I don't think they have to play perfect to come into Vegas and whoop the Raiders, man. What scares me about the upcoming slate? I like a lot of favorites. It's an ugly slate. There aren't a lot of intriguing games. And I like a lot of favorites on this slate. It scares me, Tony. I can't look at normally 5.5. I'd love to go with the dog. Are the Raiders going to score against this Denver defense?
That's the thing, man. The Denver defense is what everybody thought was not going to be very good, and it turned out to be really, really good under Vance Joseph. There's a reason why 8-1 advance. So yeah, it's gonna listen. Gardner Minshew doesn't scare a lot of people. I don't think he's scaring the Denver defense at all.
Yeah, definitely not. Tony, final 25 seconds here. Who's your tight end play for the week?
Real quick, man, let's go Zach Ertz, 3,800. Again, 5 games with double-digit points, yet only 1 touchdown, which means he's not touchdown dependent, and he's a consistent safety valve for Jaden Daniels against those garbage Cowboys.
Gonna get Tony's Thursday night props up next. Like I mentioned earlier, keep an eye on the weather in this one. Man, 90% chance of precipitation. This total laying low at 36 and a half. The Steelers laying 3.5 in Cleveland. We'll see what Tony likes in this game. Maybe he's got some defensive props for us. Don't go anywhere. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.